everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are doing my bookshelf tour. So I have not done a bookshelf tour in a couple years. I just did not get to do one at all in 2024. So my last one I think was in 2023. Could have even been 2022, but I moved in the middle of last year and I have a brand new library set up, and so I have been really wanting to do a bookshelf tour. I have over 1,000 books here. I do. I really do, and we're gonna go through all of them. I actually will be doing my physical TBR in a separate video that should be coming out right after this one. But yes, let's take a look at all of the books that I own. I currently have everything set up by either age group or genre. So we will be starting with like my manga section, and then I have a bunch of adult books, and then we go into YA and middle grade. I have some other shelves that are more like fandom shelves that I have separated out as well. But yes, buckle up. I don't know exactly how long this video is going to take. It's gonna take me quite a few hours of filming, actually. It will, but once I get it edited down, hopefully it's not too long. But this is everything that I own, everything in my library. The books that we're doing today, if they're on my shelves, I have given them at least a 3 stars or higher. Most of the time I actually get rid of and unhaul my 3 stars, so I do have a few on my shelves for either like sentimental reasons or like I know the author, because I have like one from somebody that I used to work with, like at Barnes & Noble, they wrote an indie book. So like most of the books on my shelves actually are like 4 or 5 stars. Like if I own it on my shelves, I usually really enjoyed it and loved it. So yeah, I have a huge collection here. I have a huge library here, but they are here for a reason. I want to reread them or I absolutely love them. And so without further ado, because this is gonna take me a while to film, let's get into my entire owned library. Okay, so we're actually gonna start at the very top up here. This is above the bookshelves where I have all of my Barnes & Noble Classic editions. The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, Little Women and Other Novels by Louisa May Alcott, The Wizard of Oz, the first 5 novels, and The Emerald City of Oz, novels 6 through 10 by L. Frank Baum, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Other Stories by Lewis Carroll, and Then There Were None and Other Classic Mysteries, Death on the Nile and Other Hercule Poirot Mysteries, and Murder on the Orient Express and Other Hercule Poirot Mysteries by Agatha Christie, The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, Carrie, The Shining and Salem's Lot, and The Stand by Stephen King, A Wrinkle in Time trilogy by Madeleine L'Engle, Wicked and Son of a Witch by Gregory Maguire, La Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, and Star Trek The Classic Episodes. Moving down from there, we start the manga shelf, so everything on this bookcase will be manga. Starting with the ones at the top, Can't Stop Cursing You Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Kensuke Koba, Dissolving Classroom, Junji Ito's Cat Diary, Yawn and Moo, Stitches, Ally, Black Paradox, Deserter, Fragments of Horror, Frankenstein, Geo, The Liminal Zone, Love Sickness, Mimi's Tales of Terror, Remina, Censor, Shiver, Smashed, Soichi, Tombs, Tomi, Uzumaki, and Venus in the Blind Spot, all by Junji Ito, PTSD Radio Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Masaki Nakayama, A School Frozen in Time Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4, art by Naoshi Arakawa and story by Mizuki Sujimura, The 7 Princes of the Thousand-Year Labyrinth Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Atori Haruno and Aikawa Yu. Okay, moving down again. Sweat and Soap Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, and Volume 11 by Kintetsu Yamada. Princess Jellyfish Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, and Volume 7, as well as Tokyo Tarareba Girls Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Akiko Higashimura. Perfect World Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, and Volume 6 by Rie Aruga. Ghost Hunt Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, and Volume 11 by Shiho Inada and Fuyumi Ono. Okay, moving down to the next shelf. The Promised Neverland, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, Volume 12, Volume 13, Volume 14, Volume 15, Volume 16, Volume 17, Volume 18, Volume 19, Volume 20, and Beyond the Promised Neverland by Kayu Shirai, art by Pozuka Demizu. Ouran High School Host Club Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, Volume 12, Volume 13, Volume 14, Volume 15, Volume 16, Volume 17, and Volume 18, as well as Millennium Snow Volumes 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, all by Bisco Hattori. I Hear the Sunspot, Theory of Happiness, Limit Volume 1, Limit Volume 2, Limit Volume 3, and Four Seasons Volume 1 by Yuki Fumino. Moving down another shelf. Blue Flag Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, and Volume 8 by Kaito. My Love Mix-Up Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, and Volume 9 by Wataru Hinekure. Boys Run the Riot Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Keito Gaku. The Demon Prince of Momochi House Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, and Volume 8 by Aya Shoto. Ao Haru Ride Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, and Volume 9, and Love Me Not Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4, all by Ayo Sakisaka. Moving down again. Fruits Basket Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, and Volume 12 by Natsuki Takaya. Become You, Orange, The Complete Collection Volume 1, Volume 2, Future, and To You, Dear One, all by Ichigo Takano. Waiting for Spring Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, Volume 12, Volume 13, and Volume 14 by Anishin. The Girl from the Other Side Deluxe Edition Volume 1 by Nagabe. And now we are on the bottom shelf of manga, so this is going to be the last shelf of manga that I have. Witch Hat Atelier Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and Volume 5 by Kamome Shirahama. Not Your Idol Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Aoi Makino. Love of Kill Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 by Faye. Love in Focus Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, as well as Those Not So Sweet Boys Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 by Yoko Nogiri. Prince Freya Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Keiko Ishihara. Your Lie in April Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, and a Loot Crate exclusive cover of Volume 1 by Naoshi Arakawa. Kenka Bancho Otome Loves Battle Royale Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Chie Shimada. Meteor Prince Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Mecha Tanaka. Otomi Mania Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Tsukagase Yurino. QQ Sweeper Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 by Kyosuke Motomi, Soul Eater Volume 1 by Atsushi Okubo, Star-Crossed Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Junko, Tsubasa Volume 1, and Triple X Holic Volume 1 by Clamp. Okay, moving on to the second shelf area right over here. I have my Lord of the Rings collection. So obviously I have a lot of trinkets and stuff over here as well. We'll have to move those out of the way, but everything up here is J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, the first thing we have up here is a journal. It says, "There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for." I don't remember what box I got this in, some sort of Lord of the Rings box. I also have a topographical map. This one I believe is from Nerdy Ink. Now we're going to move into some different editions of the Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. These are all with illustrations by Alan Lee. My original edition of The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. My original copy of The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. I also have a puzzle that came in an Illumicrate. My extended edition DVDs of The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. An illustrated edition of The Hobbit, illustrated by David Wenzel. And Lord of the Rings, Gollum, How We Made Movie Magic by Andy Serkis. Now, I mentioned earlier in this video that we're basically doing everything by either age group or genre, so we are still in my adult shelves, but everything now is basically going to be genre fiction. We're going to have sci-fi, fantasy, horror, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Lord of the Rings was right before this because I wanted it to have a whole shelf, and I just put it first. So, this should be in alphabetical order by author's last name. Night of the Living Trekkies by Kevin David Anderson and Sam Stahl. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Our Bloody Pearl by D.N. Bryn. Working Stiff, 2 Weeks Notice, and Terminated, as well as Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. All Around the Town by Mary Higgins Clark. Time's Eye by Arthur C. Clarke and Stephen Baxter. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Recursion by Blake Crouch. Rapunzel by A.L. Davidson. Monstrosity and In Absence by Laura Diaz de Arce. Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner. Good Omens by Terry Pratchett. Stardust. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Moving down to the next shelf, this solar system is usually not here, but Presley made it and didn't want his sister to get it, so we'll just move that out of the way for now. Lost Boy by Christina Henry. The Space Between Worlds, and the Illumicrate edition of The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. In Between by M.J. James. Quality Land by Mark-Uwe Kling. The House in the Cerulean Sea. In the Lives of Puppets. Under the Whispering Door, and Wolfsong by T.J. Klune. Odd Thomas, and Watchers by Dean Koontz. The Poppy War, and The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. Heroine Complex by Sarah Kuhn. Seven Devils by L.R. Lamb and Elizabeth May. What the Dickens by Gregory Maguire. Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. Moving to our next shelves, these are out of order a little bit as well because we're going into two different shelves of Stephen King books. And yes, I wanted to keep them all together, so of course, this is where they are. The first shelf I have my Rainbow Stephen King books. These are not all of them, and I do want to get more eventually, but these are by Hodor and Stoughton. These are the Ultimate Storyteller collection. I will probably not own all of them, but I do have more that I need to buy. So, The Langoliers, Thinner, Different Seasons, The Eyes of the Dragon, Blaze, Christine, Firestarter, Cujo, Salem's Lot, The Shining, Everything's Eventual, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, Dr. Sleep, The Regulators, The Running Man, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, Dolores Claiborne, Rose Madder, Misery, Night Shift, Full Dark No Stars, The Tommyknockers, The Mist, The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, and Just After Sunset. Okay, and then on to the second Stephen King shelf. The first two books we have here are The Regulators and Desperation in the matching covers, the Bachman books, Bag of Bones, Lissy's Story, Mr. Mercedes, Carrie, The Dark Half, The Dead Zone, Desperation, Dreamcatcher, 4 Past Midnight, The Green Mile, Hearts in Atlantis, Insomnia, It, Pet Cemetery, Skeleton Crew, The Gunslinger, and The Drawing of Three, The Institute, and It. Okay, and then we're on the last shelf of this bookcase. Every Heart a Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, and In an Absent Dream, and Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day by Seanan McGuire, The Host by Stephanie Meyer, The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill, Song of Blood and Stone, and Whispers of Shadow and Flame by Elle Penelope, Full Speed to a Crash Landing by Beth Revis, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, Final Girls, The Last Time I Lied, Lock Every Door, Home Before Dark, and Survive the Night by Riley Sager, Darkness, Guardian, and The Blackstone Chronicles by John Saul. Okay, moving to the next bookcase. This will continue the, sci-fi, fantasy, or adult books. Red Shirts by John Scalzi, Vicious and Vengeful, A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light. The Illumicrate editions of A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light. And the new paperback editions of A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, Secret Santa by Andrew Schaefer, The Bone Season, and The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon, The Deep by River Solomon, Fantasy of Frost, and Fantasy of Flight by Kelly St. Clair. Moving on down, Battle Royale by Koshin Takami, Chilling Effect, and Prime Deceptions by Valerie Valdez, The Murderbot Diaries Volume 1 by Martha Wells, Blackbirds, Mockingbird, and The Cormorant, Blackbirds, Mockingbird, and The Cormorant by Chuck Wendig, Voyage of the Damned by Frances White, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yaros. Moving on down, we are at the end of the sci-fi, fantasy, etc. shelves, so I do have a bunch of Star Trek. Most of this is actually TBR books. I will go through the whole shelf now, but you'll probably see some of these repeated in my physical TBR video. Blackfire by Sunny Cooper, Yesterday's Sun by A.C. Crispin, Corona by Greg Bear, The Final Reflection by John M. Ford, The Vulcan Academy Murders by Jean Laura, Uhura's Song by Janet Kagan, Ishmael by Barbara Hambly, Killing Time by Della Van Heis, Mind Shadow by J.M. Dillard, Demons by J.M. Dillard, Deep Domain by Howard Weinstein, Dreams of the Raven by Carmen Carter, Bloodthirst by J.M. Dillard, The Idic Epidemic by Jean Laura, Time for Yesterday by A.C. Crispin, Memory Prime by Gar and Judith Reeves Stevens, Vulcan's Glory by D.C. Fontana, Double Double by Michael Jan Friedman, The Cry of the Onlys by Judy Klass, The Kobayashi Maru by Julia Eckler, Doctor's Orders by Diane Duane, Renegade by Jean Deweese, Legacy by Michael Jan Friedman, The Rift by Peter David, Faces of Fire by Michael Jan Friedman, Ice Trap by L.A. Graff, Sanctuary by John Vornholt, Death Count by L.A. Graff, Shell Game by Melissa Crandall, The Starship Trap by Mel Gilden, Windows on a Lost World by V.E. Mitchell, From the Depths by Victor Milan, The Great Starship Race by Diane Carey, Prime Directive by Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens, The Patreon Transgression by Simon Hawke, Crossroad by Barbara Hambly, The Better Man by Howard Weinstein, First Frontier by Diane Carey and Dr. James I. Kirkland, Twilight's End by Jerry Oltian, The Rings of Tawty by Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Catherine Rush, The Joy Machine by James Gunn, based on the story by Theodore Sturgeon, Spock's World by Diane Duane, Devil World by Jordan Eklund, Perry's Planet by Jack C. Haldeman II, Planet of Judgment by Joe Haldeman, The Price of the Phoenix by Sandra Marshak and Myrna Colbreth, Spock Must Die by James Blish, Vulcan by Kathleen Sky, The Entropy Effect by Vonda N. McIntyre, Star Trek The Motion Picture, Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III The Search for Spock, Star Trek IV The Voyage Home, Star Trek V The Final Frontier, Star Trek Into Darkness, The Vulcan Academy Murders by Jean Laura, The Janus Gate by L.A. Graff, Strangers from the Sky by Margaret Wander Bonanno, The Lost Years by J.M. Dillard, Probe by Margaret Wander Bonanno, Mission to Horatius, and then a collection of Star Trek magazines, or magazines featuring Star Trek. Okay, moving down to the next shelf, this is the next section of my adult books. So this is mostly romance, although there are some contemporaries or historical. S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, Second Chances in Newport Stephen by T.J. Alexander, The Clan of the Cave Bear, The Clan of the Cave Bear, The Valley of Horses, The Mammoth Hunters, The Plains of Passage, and The Shelters of Stone by Jean M. Ayul, Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake, The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane, Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, Well Met, Well Played, Well Matched, and Well Traveled, as well as the Afterlight editions of Well Met, Well Played, Well Matched, and Well Traveled, all by Jen DeLuca. Okay, moving on down. Ice Planet Barbarians, Barbarian Alien, and Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon, The Plus One by Maisie Eddings, Halfway to the Grave, One Foot in the Grave, At Grave's End, Destined for an Early Grave, This Side of the Grave, One Grave at a Time, and Up from the Grave, as well as Once Burned, Twice Tempted, and Bound by Flames, all by Janine Frost, Boyfriend Material, and the Illumicrate or Afterlight edition of Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, In the Air Tonight by Laurie Handeland, The Love Hypothesis, and Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, Get a Life Chloe Brown, and Take a Hint Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley Jones, New Adult by Timothy Janowski, Say You'll Be Mine by Naina Kumar, Prince and Assassin by Tavia Lark. Okay, and so this is the very bottom and last shelf of both the adult books as well as the romance, contemporary, and historical. In a Holidays, The Soulmate Equation, and the Afterlight edition of The Soulmate Equation, and The Unhoneymooners, all by Christina Lauren, Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese, Red, White, and Royal Blue, and the Illumicrate edition of Red, White, and Royal Blue, One Last Stop, and the Illumicrate edition of One Last Stop, all by Casey McQuiston, Late Bloomer by Fern Michaels, The Song of Achilles, and a hardcover version of The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, Captive Prince, The Prince's Gambit, and King's Rising by C.S. Pacat, The Lights on Knockbridge Lane by Roan Parrish, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Leo Loves Aries, and Scorpio Hates Virgo, both by Anita Sunday, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, Spring Awakening by Frank Vindigan, Rhythm, Chord, and Malakin, and The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. Okay, I know the lighting up here is not going to be very good necessarily, and this is my first skinny shelf, so we'll probably get through this pretty quickly. This is right in between my adult stuff and my young adult stuff, and it ends up being more of like specialized. So this first top section, as we can see, is actually part of my Shadowhunters books. The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman. Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, Kelly Link, and Robin Wasserman. 2 copies of a history or an illustrated history of notable Shadowhunters and denizens of Downworld. The first one is an old copy back from like 2015 or 2016, and the other one is the new one that came in the most recent Seasons of Shadowhunters box from Kickstarter. The Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis, the Red Scrolls of Magic, and the Lost Book of the White, as well as a paperback of the Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. I also have All the Stories Are True, Classics Reimagined in the World of the Shadowhunters by Cassandra Clare, illustrated by Cassandra Jean. This was a pre-order bonus for one of the books in the series a few years ago, and it does have different illustrations and different stories that it's based on. Moving down, we have my Artemis Fowl shelf. These are all obviously by the same author, Owen Colfer. So this is a series that I absolutely love, and I've owned multiple different versions of these. This one right here was a version that the first book was republished in 2009. So we have Artemis Fowl, The Arctic Incident, The Eternity Code, The Opal Deception, The Lost Colony, The Time Paradox, The Atlantis Complex, and The Last Guardian. And then this next group of the series, because it's the same series, started being published with new covers in 2018. So we have Artemis Fowl, The Arctic Incident, The Eternity Code, The Opal Deception, The Lost Colony, The Time Paradox, The Atlantis Complex, and The Last Guardian. Moving down, we actually have another middle grade series. This is going to be for the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. And we have Keeper of the Lost Cities, Exile, Everblaze, Neverseen, Lodestar, and Nightfall. Okay, and more middle grade books. We have all of my Anne of Green Gables books. I actually have so many of these, they don't exactly fit on this shelf, but yeah. This is an edition of Anne of Green Gables that I got when I was on my honeymoon in the UK. We also have the Puffin in Bloom Anne of Green Gables, a Wordsworth edition of Anne of Green Gables. This is the start of a box set, so we have Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, Anne's House of Dreams, Rainbow Valley, and Rilla of Ingleside. And I know that box set was missing a couple books, but they did give us a journal. And then I have like these sort of normal editions that you can actually get at almost any store in the United States. Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, Anne of Wendy Poplars, Anne's House of Dreams, Anne of Ingleside, Rainbow Valley, Rilla of Ingleside, and not technically part of Anne of Green Gables, but it is by the same author, L.M. Montgomery. We have Emily of New Moon. Then moving down, we have all the Maggie Stiefvater books, a Japanese edition of Lament, all the Crooked Saints, the Raven Boys, and the Scorpio Races. Those are all hardcover. And then in paperback, we have the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Blue Lily Lily Blue, and the Raven King. We also have Shiver and Linger, as well as Lament and Ballad and the Scorpio Races. And then finally, we have the Chinese/Taiwanese editions of the Raven Boys and the Dream Thieves. And then we have all of my C.L. Stone books. One of the series is YA and the other is more new adult, so that's why they're over here. First, I have the collector's editions of Introductions and First Days. And then starting with the YA series, we have Introductions, First Days, Friends vs. Family, Forgiveness and Permission, Drop of Doubt, Push and Shove, House of Korba, The Other Side of Envy, The Healing Power of Sugar, First Kiss, and Black and Green. And then for the new adult series, we have Thief, Liar, Fake, Accessory, and Hoax. Okay, so we have turned the corner now over here. Again, we're in the YA and middle grade books. This section is actually above the bookcase just because I need more room, and it's going to be Cassandra Clare books, Shadowhunters books. The 10th anniversary edition of Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. The paperback editions of Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. The Illumicrate exclusive editions of Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. Chain of Gold, and Chain of Iron. Okay, moving down, we have another shelf of Cassandra Clare / Shadowhunters books. The 10th anniversary edition of City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. The paperback editions of City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire, Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, and Queen of Air and Darkness. And then all the other YA and middle grade books are alphabetical by author. What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera, the Puffin in Bloom edition of Little Women, and the Wordsworth edition of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Amari and the Night Brothers, and Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston, Vane by Fisher Amelie, Anderson's Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson, Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis, A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Barnard, The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, a German edition of the first book in the Magisterium series, The Iron Trial, The Copper Gauntlet, The Bronze Key, The Silver Mask, and The Golden Tower by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare, Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendara Blake. Okay, moving on down, Passenger by Alexandra Bracken, Trying to Live with the Dead, When the Dead Come a-Knockin', When to Fear the Living, Whispers from the Dead, When Evil Comes to Play, and Secrets from the Grave by B.L. Brunnemer, The Incredible Journey by Sheila Burnford, Honor Among Thieves by Rachel Kane and Anne Aguirre, Graceling, Fire, and Bitter Blue by Kristen Kishore, The Selection, and The Elite by Kiara Cass, The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani, Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, The Wish List by Owen Colfer, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Okay, moving down again, Code Orange, Hush Little Baby, Twins, The Face on the Milk Carton, Whatever Happened to Janie, What Janie Found, and The Voice on the Radio, all by Carolyn B. Cooney. The Witches by Roald Dahl, Croak by Gina D'Amico, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang by Ian Fleming, The Accidental Apprentice, The Weeping Tide, The Everstorms, and The Night Compass by Amanda Foody, Tanabata Wish by Sarah Fujimura, Symptoms of Being Human by Jeff Garvin, The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, Rune Marks by Joanne Harris, Threads That Bind by Kika Hatzopoulou, Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins, At the Edge of the Universe by Sean David Hutchinson, Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson, The Iron King, The Iron Daughter, and The Iron Queen by Julie Kagawa. Okay, moving down again. Shadow of the Fox and Soul of the Sword by Julie Kagawa, Love, Fortunes, and Other Disasters, and Love Charms and Other Catastrophes by Kimberly Karalias, Illumine, Gemina, and Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and Storm by Bridget Kimmerer, The Extraordinaries by T.J. Klune, A Trial of Sorcerers, A Hunt of Shadows, and A Tournament of Crowns by Elise Kova, The Green Fairy Book edited by Andrew Lang, Gifts by Ursula K. Le Guin. Okay, and then we're on the bottom shelf. I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, Horrid by Katrina Leno, The Yearbook by Peter Larengis, Draw the Line by Laurent Lynn, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, Rot and Ruin, and Dust and Decay by Jonathan Mayberry, American Royals by Catherine McGee, A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney, How to Hang a Witch, and Haunting the Deep, as well as Killing November by Adriana Mather, Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, and Last Sacrifice by Rochelle Mead, Cinder, and Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. Okay, so we're going to be moving over one more time for the last bookcase of young adult and middle grade, starting with Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer, Slay by Brittany Morris, The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and Monsters of Men, A Monster Calls, and More Than This, all by Patrick Ness, Midnight for Charlie Bone and the Time Twister, Charlie Bone and the Invisible Boy, Charlie Bone and the Castle of Mirrors, Charlie Bone and the Hidden King, Charlie Bone and the Beast, Charlie Bone and the Shadow, and Charlie Bone and the Red Knight by Jenny Nimmo, All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris. Okay, moving on down. Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, Final Friends, Book 1, The Party, and Book 2, The Dance, Book 1, The Party, Book 2, The Dance, and Book 3, The Graduation, Master of Murder, and Scavenger Hunt, all by Christopher Pike, Geekerella by Ashley Poston, 7 Ways We Lie by Riley Redgate, The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, and The Blood of Olympus, all by Rick Riordan, Deltora Quest, and Deltora Shadowlands by Emily Rhoda. Okay, moving on down. A List of Cages by Robin Rowe, Sorcery of Thorns, and Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson, The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, Carry On by Rainbow Roll, Altered by Jennifer Rush, the hardcover Rainbow Crate editions of The Foxhole Court, The Raven King, and The King's Men, and paperback editions with special covers of The Foxhole Court, The Raven King, and The King's Men by Nora Sakovic, Song of the Sparrow by Lisa Ann Sandell, The Rhythmatist, and Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Okay, moving down again. City of Ghosts, Tunnel of Bones, and Bridge of Souls by V.E. Schwab, Lessons in Fear by Diana Shaw, Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter, Don't Die, Dragonfly, and Last Dance by Linda Joy Singleton, The Hunter, The Chase, and The Kill, Secret Vampire, Daughters of Darkness, Spellbinder, and Dark Angel, all by L.J. Smith, The Bad Beginning, and The Bad Beginning Rare Edition by Lemony Snicket, Waterbound by Jane Stemp, Kathy's Book, Kathy's Key, and Kathy's Ring by Stuart Wiseman and Brigg, Twisted by R.L. Stein, Sadie by Courtney Summers, The Sunbearer Trials, and Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. Okay, moving down, we actually have the last row of YA and middle grade. Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend, The Emerald Door by Megan E. Vaughn, The Merciless, and The Merciless 2, The Haunted, and Survive the Night, all by Danielle Vega, Generation Dead, Kiss of Life, and Passing Strange, as well as Break My Heart 1000 Times, all by Daniel Waters, The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White, The Babysitter's Coven by Kate Williams, The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams, Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao, I also have an omnibus of Plume on this shelf, and that is because the next shelf that we're going to is all of my comics and graphic novels, and it does not fit. Okay, so moving into the last shelf, like I said, comics and graphic novels. Night Lights by Lorena Alvarez. Moonstruck Volume 1, Magic to Brew by Grace Ellis. Azola Chapter 1 by Brendan Fletcher. Silver Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Stefan Frank. Die Volume 1, Fantasy Heartbreaker, and Volume 2, Split the Party. Once and Future Volume 1, The King is Undead, and Volume 2, Old English. The Wicked and the Divine Volume 1, The Faust Act, Volume 2, Fandemonium, Volume 3, Commercial Suicide, and Volume 4, Rising Action, as well as Young Avengers Volume 1, Style Over Substance, Volume 2, Alternative Culture, and Volume 3, Mic Drop at the Edge of Time and Space, all by Kiera and Gillen, Skyward Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Joe Henderson, Lock and Key Volume 1, Welcome to Lovecraft, and Volume 2, Head Games by Joe Hill, Barbarous Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Hirsch and Oda, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Hovarth, Niobe, She Is Life by Sebastian A. Jones, Overgrown by Siobhan Keenan, Descender Volume 1, Tin Stars by Jeff Lemire, Wildlife Volume 1 by Pascale Lepes, Agents of the Realm Volume 1, Semester 1, and Volume 2, Semester 1 by Mildred Lewis, Aviale Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and Chapter 6, as well as The Hunt Part 1, all by Lucid, Hope Volume 1, Mother by Dirk Manning, Namesake Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 by Isabel Melancon and Megan Levy-Heaton, Alice From Dream to Dream by Julio Macion, Fence Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by C.S. Picot, Low Volume 1, The Delirium of Hope, and Volume 2, Before the Dawn Burns Us by Rick Remender, Extraordinary by V.E. Schwab, Death Vigil Volume 1 by Stay Up on Sage, Firefly, Those Left Behind, Better Days and Other Stories, The Shepherd's Tale, and a Firefly cargo crate / loot crate of A Shepherd's Tale, Leaves on the Wind, and No Power in the Verse, For Goodness Sake, The Omnibus, also Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, as well as Plume Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4, all by Kaylin Smith, Star Trek Boldly Go Volume 1, and Volume 2, Dodge City by Josh Trujillo, Something is Killing the Children Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and House of Slaughter Volume 1 by James Tinian IV, Life is Strange Dust by Emma Vicelli, Hex 11 Volume 1, and Volume 2 by Lisa K. Weber and Kelly Sue Milano, Rat Queens Volume 1, Sass and Sorcery, Volume 2, The Far-Reaching Tentacles of Nigroth, and Volume 3, Demons by Curtis Wiebe, Fables Volume 1, Legends in Exile by Bill Willingham, and Wayward Volume 1, String Theory, Volume 2, Ties That Bind, and Volume 3, Out from the Shadows by Jim Zub. Okay, and so actually this is going to be the last area we're going to look at today. Once we go over here, this is actually TBR stuff. So we're going to go here to this half bookshelf. I said earlier that the bottom shelf of the other one was all of my comics and graphic novels. What I meant to say, that was only comics and graphic novels, but I do have more on this bookcase, as well as some fandom types of books thrown in as well. So this top shelf is going to be all of my Brian K. Vaughan comics. Paper Girls Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, and Volume 6, as well as Saga Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, and Volume 11. Then we're moving into all of my Sherlock Holmes books, The Illustrated Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, a Vintage Classics editions that I bought while on my honeymoon in the UK of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet, The Sign of Four, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and His Last Bow, all by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Okay, then we have my BioWare shelf, so Mass Effect and Dragon Age stuff. Dragon Age, The World of Thetis, Volume 2, The Art of Mass Effect Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, The Collector's Edition Guide, The Game Informer for Mass Effect Andromeda, as well as Dragon Age The Veilguard, I heard this has spoilers in it, so I actually never read it, but now that I've finished the game, I probably should. Dragon Age: The Silent Grove, Those Who Speak, and Until We Sleep, all by David Gator. Mage Killer by Greg Rucka. Knight Errant, Deception, Blue Wraith, and Dark Fortress, all by Nunzio De Filippis. The Missing by George Mann. Mass Effect Redemption, and an alternate cover for Redemption, Mass Effect Evolution, Mass Effect Invasion, and Mass Effect Homeworlds, as well as Mass Effect Foundation Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, all by Mac Walters. Mass Effect Discovery by John Dombrow and Jeremy Barlow. Hard in Hightown by Varric Tethras, or actually Mary Kirby. Dragon Age to Winter Nights, edited by Chris Bain, Patrick Weeks, Matthew Goldman, and Christopher Morgan. And Dragon Age Asunder by David Gator. Okay, going back down, we actually come to my Doctor Who shelves. I do have Amy Pond and the Doctor here, but Elliot has taken their bases off, so they don't stand up right now. Dr. Ninth, 12 Doctors, 12 Stories, which includes A Big Hand for the Doctor by Owen Colfer, The Nameless City by Michael Scott, The Spear of Destiny by Marcus Sedgwick, The Roots of Evil by Philip Reeve, Tip of the Tongue by Patrick Ness, Something Borrowed by Rochelle Mead, The Ripple Effect by Mallory Blackman, Spore by Alex Scarrow, The Beast of Babylon by Charlie Higson, The Mystery of the Haunted Cottage by Derek Landy, Nothing O'Clock, and Lights Out by Holly Black, Winner Takes All by Jacqueline Rayner, The Stone Rose by Jacqueline Rayner, Only Human by Gareth Roberts, Beautiful Chaos by Gary Russell, The Silent Stars Go By Dan Abnett, Prisoner of the Daleks by Trevor Baxendale, Touched by an Angel by Jonathan Morris, Time Lord Fairy Tales, Weapons of Past Destruction, and Dr. Mania by Cabin Scott. Okay, moving down again, we have my Buffy area. This is pretty much just Buffy comics. So we're going to start off with Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 8, Volume 1, The Long Way Home, Volume 2, No Future for You, Volume 3, Wolves at the Gate, Volume 4, Time of Your Life, Volume 5, Predators and Prey, Volume 6, Retreat, Volume 7, Twilight, and Volume 8, Last Gleaming. Moving on to Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 9, Volume 1, Freefall, Volume 2, On Your Own, Volume 3, Guarded, Volume 4, Welcome to the Team, and Volume 5, The Core. We also have the side stories of Spike, A Dark Place, and Willow Wonderland. They still take place during Season 9. Okay, then going into Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 10, Volume 1, New Rules, Volume 2, I Wish, Volume 3, Love Dares You, Volume 4, Old Demons, Volume 5, In Pieces on the Ground, and Volume 6, Own It. Then we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 11, Volume 1, The Spread of Their Evil, and Volume 2, One Girl in All the World, as well as the side story, Giles, Girl Blue, and then Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 12, The Reckoning. This is the only volume in Season 12. And then we also have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot, which is from 2019. This is a reimagining of the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, so it starts back at the beginning, but it's a little bit different, and this is Volume 1, High School is Hell. And then finally, this is the last bit that we're going to show today, because after this, it literally is just TBR books. These are more graphic novels than comics, although there are still some comics here. It's basically just continued from the previous bookcase, where all the comics were at the bottom. And these are the ones that are more different sized, like smaller, more graphic novel shaped than like a comic bind-up. And as you can see, I'm running out of room, so we have Nothing Special, Volume 1, Through the Elder Woods by Katie Cook, In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wong, Super Chill by Adam Ellis, The Croaking, Volume 1, At First Flight, and Volume 2, Caught in Your Slipstream by Megan J. Gray, Friends with Boys by Faith Erin Hicks, Reindeer Boy by Cassandra Jean, Let's Play, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4 by Leon Kresick, The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich by Dea Muniz, Bloom by Kevin Panetta, Witchy by Ariel Slamette Rise, Bang Bang Boom Volume 1 by Melanie Schoen, The House of Lowther Volume 1 by Kaylin Smith, Lore Olympus Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Rachel Smith, Nimona by N.D. Stevenson, Check Please Book 1 Hockey, and Book 2 Sticks and Scones by Ngozi Ukazu. Okay, so that is everything. This took me multiple hours of filming, and editing. I've been going back and forth depending on how my camera battery is doing. Over 4 days. Yes. But that is everything besides my physical TBR, which we will get into in the next video actually. But that is over 1,000 books that I showed you. I technically have just under 1,000 books read that I own, and then I have like over 500 TBR books. Yes. However, some of the things that I showed you, like the Star Trek books, some of the Stephen King books, I have some that are technically on my TBR, but I don't have enough room on my TBR shelves, so they're actually in the other shelves. So I did show you over 1,000 books today. I love doing videos like these, even though they do take super, super long. So let me know what you think down below. And if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye. World and the